Hi, I'm Mark Cunningham at Grace Property Management in Denver, Colorado here. One comment we're hearing from a lot of prospective owner clients. So someone calls our office and they say, hey, I'm thinking of hiring you to manage my property. And then they're saying this, I can't sell my house. I've been trying to sell this for a period of time. I've had it listed for sale for weeks or months and I can't get the price I need. And so now I'm thinking of renting out my property. And this is a dramatic shift in the real estate market, not just in Colorado, but across the entire U.S. right now. And the reason we're seeing this right now, it is because of a couple very, very specific reasons. Number one is for the last decade, really, home prices have gone up too high, too fast. They just have. We can't have 20% year over year sale prices year after year after year. That's not sustainable. Now that happened because buyers were in a frenzy. It was like musical chairs and there weren't enough properties and the federal government had interest rates very, very low. You could buy a house at all-time lows. They had interest rates sometimes even below 3%. You could get a 30-year fixed loan at below 3%. Why would you not want to buy a property? So there was a frenzy of buyers. They created this. And so people were buying and people were bidding up prices faster than they should have been bid up. We certainly saw this in the Denver market. People were waiving inspections. They were waiving appraisals. They were offering as much as they needed to offer to get that house. That's not a healthy market. Now that happened year after year after year for the last decade, really. And now what we've seen very, very recently is now buyers are taking a breath. Suddenly the game of musical chairs has stopped. Part of the reason is because the federal government has increased interest rates. Interest rates have more than doubled in the last number of months. So buyers aren't as attracted to cheap money. They can't borrow as much money for cheap. And they're starting to realize that, gosh, maybe I shouldn't offer 20% over the asking price just to get this house. A recent survey showed that 75% of people that have purchased a house in the last 6 months have some regret. Either they paid too much, they didn't get quite the property they wanted, it wasn't the right number of bedrooms, but they just did it because they felt that was their only option. Now they're regretting that. And so buyers are now taking a breath. So when we have these two confluence of events, recent buyers, if you bought a house in the last number of months and you have to suddenly sell, you may find yourself stuck. Because what the way the last decade has looked like is you could sell any house for just about any price. You put it on the market. Doesn't matter if you bought it yesterday, you can get more today than you bought it for yesterday because prices were popping so fast. Well, that has slowed down now. That has slowed down dramatically. So very likely, and we hear this often, if you bought a house in the last 6 months, when you factor in the cost of sale, commissions to sell, and expenses and time on market and fixing it up, suddenly you're going to lose money. You can't sell the house for more than you paid for it 3 months ago. Now, most people who bought a house 3 months ago weren't planning on moving now, but life happens. Maybe there was a job transfer, maybe there was a divorce, maybe there was a death in the family. Some life event happened that forces some people to have to sell. They weren't planning on selling, but now they find themselves in a situation where they need to sell. And they look at the numbers, they run the numbers, and that means if they're going to sell it, they're actually going to have to bring money to the closing table. And they don't want to do that. They don't want to do that. Which leads to many folks considering renting out their home. If you find yourself in that situation, this is a very real consideration. It's not for everybody, but it is for some people. If you bought a home and it could be a nice rental, it's a good 3-bedroom, 2-bath, single-family home, there's going to be good demand for that. Maybe you got a really low interest rate when you bought that property and you think, gosh, maybe I'll just become a landlord. I'll convert this to a rental property. That is absolutely something to consider. You just want to be cautious with that because there are risks in renting out your rental property. There are a lot of laws you have to follow, federal and state. You've got to make sure you get that right. You've got to price that property appropriately. It needs to show very well. You need to make sure you screen applicants that are applying to the property because you're going to be giving somebody the key to the front door of your property. So be very cautious on who you rent your property to. Set an appropriate rental rate. Have a strong lease agreement in place. Make sure you're enforcing that. Collect a security deposit. There's a lot of things that go into that. If that's something that you as an owner are considering, we would happy to be a resource and explain the way that we do property management. We've been doing it in Denver since 1978. We certainly have a good pulse on the market and we know how to do that. If you'd like to get information or a rental analysis on your property that you're considering renting out, jump on our website, rentgrace.com. We're happy to be a resource in providing any information to help you determine whether or not you should sell your house or whether or not you should turn it into a long-term investment rental.